I was hoping to get a look at some wolves this morning.
Yeah?
No, you? Ah. Well, I better say something brilliant then, huh? You know, wolves or no wolves, it's still a pretty nice way to spend the morning. It's quiet. Gives you time to think. You know, I spent a lot of time thinking about what Hayden and his men did here, what they experienced, but they actually weren't the first outsiders to lay eyes on Yellowstone. A man named John Coulter beat him by 65 years. Coulter grew up in Kentucky, which in the late 1700s was the western frontier of the U.S. So when Lewis and Clark needed a few good men for their western expedition, they went straight to Kentucky, knowing that that's where the most rugged of the rugged lived. It must have been the way Coulter looked, or the way he shook a hand that inspired confidence. But they signed him on, and for the next 28 months, they explored the West together. You could fill a few volumes with the stories from that trip, but it was only a chapter for Coulter. When the expedition was over, the group headed back to St. Louis to debrief on everything they discovered. That's when a chance meeting changed history. A few days out from St. Louis, they ran into a group of fur traders who had a dilemma. They wanted to set up a fur trade with the Crow Nation. The Crows had already returned to their winter camps, territory where no outsiders had ever set foot. After more than 2 years in the wilderness, Coulter had a decision to make. A warm bed in St. Louis or the cold unknown. Some creatures just aren't built for captivity. So Coulter asked Lewis and Clark for an early dismissal, unheard of. They said he'd been so crucial to the expedition's success that they had no choice but to set him free. America's first mountain man was released into the wild. He spent the next 3 years canoeing the rivers and traversing the peaks. He made trade deals with the Crow and faced certain death when he came upon hundreds of Blackfeet warriors just outside Yellowstone's borders. After the trapper he was traveling with was dismembered right in front of him, Coulter was stripped naked and told to run. It was a chance for the young Blackfeet to prove their manhood by killing Coulter. So he ran. Feet caked in blood and lungs drowned in fluid, he managed to stay ahead of the warriors for 21 days. Ironically, the very animal whose fur he sought saved his life. He managed to elude the young Blackfeet by hiding inside a beaver dam. When he arrived at Fort Manuel days later, he told the incredible story, and a few others. He told tales of exploding geysers, bubbling mud pots, rainbow-colored pools, No one believed him. They said he'd lost his mind or called him a drunk. It became a joke, as people sardonically labeled this place Coulter's Hell. Coulter never got the last laugh. He died 5 years later, long before the rest of the country would come to know the Yellowstone region was very much a real place. I guess the last laugh was Coulter's, getting to see Yellowstone with his own eyes. At least I hope so. Okay, here we go. This is gonna get good. The people who question what John Coulter saw may have referred to it as Coulter's Hell. But in reality, it was sacred ground. According to their oral history, the Kiowa people didn't have a homeland when the earth first was created. Instead, they had to earn one. Their God told them to travel to a harsh, unforgiving land where water boils out of a thundering cave. And if anyone was brave enough to jump into the water, the land would be theirs. One young man did. And when he climbed back out, the land around them had turned lush and beautiful. The Kiowa called the hot spring Tosaldo. Today it's known as Dragon's Mouth. Hidden deep inside its cave, gas and steam form pressure bubbles that explode against the cave's roof. When they pop, the sound echoes out like the growl of a beast. Steam drifting upwards like the hot breath of a dragon. Dragon's Mouth and other remarkable sights and sounds of Yellowstone had been experienced only by indigenous tribes until John Coulter arrived in the area, the first outsider to see them. Soon others would follow. America was growing in the 1800s. Westward expansion was on the march. Gold strikes sent people past the Mississippi River into uncharted territory where there was plenty of land. But not enough railroads. So in 1853, Congress passed the Pacific Railroad Survey Bill. They wanted to chart the West and find potential railroad routes from the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean. The best and brightest scientific minds jumped onto the project. One of them was a geologist named Ferdinand Hayden, who in 1871 set his sights on the Yellowstone region. No one had mapped the area he had heard so many seemingly tall tales about. Hayden wanted to be the first to do it. He assembled a 32-man dream team made up of geologists, mineralogists, botanists, and zoologists. He also brought along a photographer and a painter to memorialize their findings. It took 27 horses, 21 mules, and 5 wagons to transport Hayden, the 31 men who joined him, and their gear across the country. Two journals that were kept during the trip and 10 letters sent by Hayden himself lasted through time, providing us with vivid insight into the team's historic journey. They traveled for days through jagged canyons and lush valleys. And on July 21st, 1871, they finally entered Yellowstone itself. And soon after, they arrived at the spot that immediately let them know Coulter's hell was very real. A giant complex of hot springs on a mountain of travertine. Mammoth Hot Springs was created over thousands of years. From cooling water spouted from below. Over 2 tons of calcium carbonate flows into Mammoth daily. And its terrace mountain is the largest of its kind on Earth. The photographers on the expedition had a field day here. And still today, it's one of the most photographed places in all of Yellowstone. Hayden's men camped nearby and studied the feature for 2 days. They met 2 squatters who had big plans to cash in on the unique geology. J.C. McCartney and H.R. Hoare had laid claim to 320 acres and established a ranch and bathhouse near Liberty Cap. They planned to market the water as having healing powers. Hayden knew they would destroy the area, but he didn't know how he would stop them. For that plan to solidify, they had to push deeper into the strange land, see what else it had to offer. They continued their march into the pristine valleys. Instantly, they were floored by the abundance of wildlife. Particularly the massive population of elk. The elk herds are a stunning sight for the tourist today. But to Hayden's men, they were a steady source of food. Long days of trekking over difficult terrain had the men thinking with their stomachs often, even when they encountered the park's most feared predators. Hunting is strictly prohibited in Yellowstone today, but it takes a lot of food to keep 32 hungry men motivated. And even grizzly bear was on their menu. The pioneers had to eat, and they had to sleep, making their camps at night in canvas tents, hoping for a good night's rest. But in the wilderness, sleeping isn't always easy. Boy, am I glad I chose to set my tent right under a tree that houses the loudest owl in the continental United States. And always bring earplugs when you go camping. That's a tip I wish I'd remembered. You know, I was doing some reading before I got my 17 minutes of sleep. This is Albert Peel's journal. He was a mineralogist on expedition with Hayden. This morning, about 1 o'clock, we had quite an earthquake. First shock lasted about 20 seconds and was followed by 5 or 6 shorter ones. Duncan, who was on guard, says that the trees were shaking and that the horses that were lying down sprang to their feet. You know, I've been through my fair share of earthquakes, but one that lasts 20 seconds, that's a big one. Can't imagine anyone going back to sleep after that. That was the first recorded earthquake in Yellowstone. Now we know there are as many as 3,000 a year. Some small, some massive, like the one in 1951. It was so strong that a 25-mile-long section of the park was pushed up 40 feet in elevation in just a few seconds. At a magnitude of 7.3, it is Yellowstone's strongest earthquake, at least on record. Evidence of its destruction can still be seen today at Quake Lake. A 170-foot deep body of water that formed when a crumbling mountain tumbled into the nearby Madison River. Today, legions of ghost trees dot the lake. A stark reminder of how quickly the face of Yellowstone can change. Earthquakes, underground volcanoes, and entire mountains rising and falling. And here I am getting rattled by now. Despite the sleep deprivation, the team continued on their mission. And on July 25th, they reached another stunning sight, Tower Falls. A 132-foot drop. Flanked on either side by eroded pillars of volcanic rock. Two days later, they reached the upper falls of the Yellowstone River. Teetering over a 109-foot drop. The precipice of Upper Falls marks a dramatic geological shift in the Yellowstone riverbed. It's where hardened, water-resistant lava flows give way to softer rock. A boundary set by volcanic eruption over 450,000 years ago. Hayden's team was humbled by the spectacle in front of them. But waterfalls were not what they were seeking. They were looking for the source of the mighty Yellowstone River. And 6 miles upstream, they found what they were after. On July 28th, they arrived at Yellowstone Lake. At 7,732 feet above sea level and covering 136 square miles, it is the largest body of water in Yellowstone. In late July, Hayden and his men set up camp by the lake. They could see the islands in the distance, but they didn't have a boat. When you're an explorer, your job is to explore. You don't have something you need, build it. You don't know how, you better figure it out pretty quick. And that's what they did. They used a fallen pine as the base and carved oars out of branches. Then they rigged up one of their blankets as a sail and named her Annie. They placed Annie in the lake and crossed their fingers that she'd hold. It's the true spirit of an explorer. Figuring things out on the fly. Forging ahead with no safety net. No guarantee of success. When I was younger, I wanted so much to be on a lake by myself. Going somewhere, that between the ages of 7 and 18, I built 3 different canoes. And they all looked horrible. They were all handmade. But I took the last one I built down some of the rivers that Lewis and Clark went down because it just spoke to me out loud. I was determined to be out there. To experience the kind of thrill Hayden and his men must have felt. Just get in a boat and go. What Hayden found as they sailed the Annie was an island they described as a jungle. Full of wild game. Want to know the best part about being an explorer? You get to name things after yourself. Jim Stevenson was the first one off the boat, so naturally they named it Stevenson's Island. Hayden raved about their discovery in a letter to the Smithsonian. With a seaworthy boat at his disposal, Hayden wanted to explore and map the entire lake. The team sailed the Annie to 6 other islands, naming each one after themselves or family members. After they finished mapping the lake, Hayden and his team pushed deeper into the strange land. They continued their mission of mapping a potential route for the railroad and collecting geological samples. Some of which gave the team a sense that even John Coulter was not the first to come here. Not by a long shot. One of the geological samples that Hayden collected was an insanely sharp hunk of geological glass called obsidian. That's what these spear points are made from. I can touch these, right?
Yeah.
Obsidian was used by ancient peoples as weapons because it can be made to be sharper than any modern razor. This one was found in New Mexico. And this one was found in Utah. And this one was discovered in Ohio, 1,800 miles from here. You know what all these have in common? They all came from a single outcrop of obsidian that's right here in Yellowstone. Obsidian is formed when lava reaches the surface and cools rapidly. It usually breaks apart during this process, which is why it's typically found in small fragments. But Obsidian Cliff in northwest Yellowstone is a 200-foot tall outcrop of pure obsidian. It's a geological anomaly and the mother lode for hunter-gatherers in need of some new spears. Some of these spear points are 11,000 years old. Think about that. 11,000 years before Hayden was even born, indigenous Americans were using this land. I try to picture it, try to imagine what the first indigenous people must have thought when they arrived here thousands of years ago. Bison as far as the eye can see. Man, this earth rising, breathing. All the obsidian you could carry. Pretty cool. The woolly mammoths are gone. And roads and boardwalks have been built. But in so many ways, Yellowstone is very much the same place that it was when the first humans found it 11,000 years ago. That's because at some point in August of 1871, Hayden and the 31 other men that followed him started to realize their mission to exploit the region was the wrong path. The samples they were collecting would have a new purpose. Documentation of a one-of-a-kind place that needed to be preserved. They filled 45 large boxes with over 1,000 specimens of minerals, plants, and animal pelts. They shipped them off to the Smithsonian to be organized and cataloged. Hayden was starting to build a case to convince the powers that be. On August 28, Hayden posted a field report announcing the completion of his survey. They'd finished their journey into Coulter's Hill. Conquered the terrain and scientifically studied every inch of the upper Yellowstone. But Hayden knew his greatest work was still ahead of him. He had to convince Congress and even the President of the United States to do something that no one anywhere in the world had ever done before. Protect a huge piece of land. Preserve it for future generations. Don't let them mine. Don't let them build. Just let it be. The phrase, "a picture is worth 1,000 words," wasn't unleashed into the ether until the 1920s. But I think Hayden knew what it meant long before that. He knew that all the words in the report that he was planning to present to Congress were just that, words. So as he made his pitch to preserve Yellowstone, he saturated members of Congress with the photographs that William Henry Jackson had taken. Watercolors that Thomas Moran had painted. Suddenly, Coulter's Hill wasn't just the work of one mountain man's imagination. It was all very real. And enough members of Congress and the Senate saw the beauty in this place to pass the Yellowstone Park bill. Record time. It was signed into law by President Ulysses S. Grant on March 1st, 1872. And the planet's first national park was created. Today, about 4 million people visit Yellowstone each year. And in the 150 years since Hayden did what he did, 422 more parks have been created in the U.S., spanning 84 million acres of pristine land. Countries all over the world looked at what was done here and thought, hey, that's a pretty good idea. There are now 4,000 national parks worldwide. (15% of the Earth's land). And 10% of the waters are protected. The National Park Service has been deemed America's best idea. But really, it seems like the world's best idea. I think we'd all like to dream that we can leave the world a better